Hi everybody, welcome to the cabin at Frog Hollow. Nice wintry day to tie some flies. Today we're going to tie the Borchers Special, another very famous Michigan dry fly, Ernie Borcher. And here we go. Today I'm going to use a Tiemco 101 dry fly hook. This was traditionally done on a Mustad 94840. But I like the Tiemco hooks, the micro barbs, and the chemically sharpened points. So Tiemco it is. We're going to use 8/0 black thread, and we're going to start by dressing the hook. And dressing the hook means going over top of the hook and then trapping the tag that I've got in my left hand and just wrapping back on it. The Borchers has a traditional spent wing up front, so we're going to build a pad of thread there to tie that spent wing on with, and we're going to do that in the forward quarter of this hook shank. So we're going to snip out our tag end. The next step is to add the wings. The wings here are the wing tips of the blue dun. In the old days used to be called an iron blue dun hackle. Again, these are, no different than the other versions of different kinds of hackles we've used. We have a curve. The inside of the curve is called the dull side. The outside of the curve is called the shiny side. So we're going to pair these up, shiny side to shiny side, so that we end up with these kind of already spent wings. We're going to match the tips. We want to get those perfectly matched, and we're going to measure the length of the shank of the hook for the wing's length itself. So we're going to do that. I'm going to snip some of this out, blow out those little follicles of fibers, grab them by the butts. Again, we're going to measure that length. I like that. So I'm going to tie them in right at the base where my thumb and my index finger meet. We're going to go around it once loosely. The second time around, we're going to put some torque on it. Lash those down good. We're going to grab, you can see the butts here. We're going to grab those wings, stand them up, one wrap, and then we're going to clean out these barbels that the thread pushed down and away. So we're just going to make one snip, well, maybe two. I see another one hanging there. And there the wings are standing in the upright position. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drop this thread between the two. One, two. This is called a figure 8. Oops. Oops. That's something you don't necessarily want to hear when you're tying flies, is oops. So we've got those spent just perfectly. We're going to snip out these butts right there. And me being me, I'm going to add a spot of clear, flexible head cement to the base of those wings. That is going to toughen those wings up as they meet the body of that hook. And we're going to be happy we did that later. So we're going to jump behind now, and we're going to go to the aft part of the fly, the tail. We're going to wrap back there until we reach the bend of the hook directly opposite the barb. That's your stop spot. You can see maybe you can or cannot see the little barb there, but that's exactly where my thread ended. This pattern, the recipe calls for cock pheasant central feather tail. For the tail itself, we're going to pull out a small batch of those. Small batch is, of course, subject to conversation. Length of the body, I'm going to measure it, transfer it to our left hand, and right in between the wings, we're going to set that right on top of the hook, and we're going to lash them down. Just like that. Now, to keep the body from building what we call a startup bump, which is right there, You never want to snip your materials off there. We want to lay them along the shank of the hook and wrap up so that we get a concentric body on these flies without any of the dreaded startup bumps. That just is rookie if you do that. Okay, now comes the body. Ernie used turkey. This is a cinnamon tip turkey. We have white tip turkey in in Michigan. Cinnamon tips. I'm not sure where they come from, but we're going to snip out about 1/4 of an inch of those on that side. This tapers down to a fine point here, so we're going to tie that in first so we get a tapered body to the Borchers. We're going to tie the tips in, and again, leaving the body materials, that material that we've just tied in, we're going to leave it there, and we're going to wrap that up and stop just below the wing and snip that out without snipping the wing out, which would be a good thing not to do. All right. Now we're going to take the pheasant and we're going to Palmer wrap that up the body. These have really fine little barbels on the side of the hair, the wing follicle, and boy, does it make a beautiful mottled body. Notice how that's starting to taper now, getting a little larger as I approach the wings. I am done. I'm going to go in behind that, wrap twice. Use as fine a thread as you can comfortably tie without it breaking. And boy, today's threads are so strong for the diameter. Really cool stuff. So there's the body. I have one little broken fiber right there I'm going to snip out. That's how that should look. Now we're going to take one Coachman Brown hackle. We're going to strip the web away from the stem. Remember, this is a dry fly hackle, so we want stiff barbels on the side of that hackle, so we want all the web out. You're going to do the same with the grizzly hackle. We're going to take the web out. Little tie-in stem. We're going to face these hackles with the shiny side facing us, or excuse me, not facing us, away from us. There's the bend. So we're going to tie it in like that so the barbels face forward as we wrap them. So those get tied in behind the wing. I'm going to jump up in front, wrap towards the eye. If the stems are a little long, this is a good time to snip those off. And we're going to leave the thread up near the eye because that's going to be our termination point. Okay, we're going to grab the brown, the Coachman Brown hackle pliers, and we're going to start the process of hackling this fly. Take your time. There's no rush. We want to do a nice job. We don't want to crush any of the hackle barbels. 2 or 3 wraps behind the wing. We can do this sparsely because we're using 2 hackles here, so we don't want to over hackle it, but we certainly don't want to under hackle it because hackle is what makes the world go round and the fly float. So do this 2 wraps. We're going to snip the hackle tip off right at the base where we tied it in. Grab the grizzly. Oh, I noticed the tip was missing on that, but it doesn't matter. And we want to weave this through the brown, trying not to trap any of the brown hackle barbels as we head towards the eye. I just jumped up in front of the wing. Notice how this is coming together pretty nicely. And that's our final wrap. In behind that Hackle stem to trap it. 2 wraps. Snip out the tip. Index finger and thumb, just push the barbels back away from the eye. Just push it back with the thread. Use as few of the wraps as you possibly can. That was 3 or 4 wraps. Remember, we want to keep this fly very light. Thread has weight, so use as little of it as possible. And we're going to do a 3 or 4 turn whip finish. That makes 4 right there. And tighten everything up, snip the thread out. Now, while our glue is still a little bit on the wet side, make sure your wings are in the right position, which they are. I love that. That looks great. And then as that glue sets up, those wings are there forever. So there's the Borchers Special.